You, you, hello.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our solution session. We're incredibly thrilled to have you here with us today. If you've not joined a solution session, just as a reminder, they are 30 minutes. They're meant to be interactive, so please ask questions and engage as well. I'm so pleased that you have joined us here today, and here with us is the CEO of Capital Plus SAFI, Jorge Quintilla. So thank you, Jorge.
Thank you. Well, we're just as happy and very pleased to be here. We thank Jean for having us over, and I especially thank each of you for joining us this morning. As we heard, this is a solution session. It's interactive. It's about, in our view, about a truly sustainable approach on investments at a time when we need it most. And so at any point, please feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. We want you to walk away with a big punchline, and the big punchline is to fully understand share value so that you can then consider applying share value in your investment strategy. Share value. But first off, we're going to show briefly a video on our strategy and on the segment that we're tackling, which is the agribusiness. So, Bismarck, can you please go ahead and get us going?
We need to catalyze change. The Amazon burns. We are running out of lungs for the world. Latin America's bounty withers, threatening global food security. Climate chaos rages. Forests fall. Inequality widens. Sustainable agriculture faces a stark funding gap, receiving just $20 billion annually against the needed $300 billion. This gap represents not just a challenge, but a profound investment opportunity to drive change. Today, how businesses operate is often seen as part of the problem in addressing social challenges, particularly in sectors linked to commodities like soybean, beef, palm oil, and the broader food industry. We find ourselves at a critical juncture. Our resources are being distributed inefficiently, aimed at short-term gains instead of being mobilized for long-term impact. It's time to shift our focus. By investing in businesses that are driving change, integrating social issues into their business models, and adopting a shared value strategy, we can commit to creating value over the next century, embracing a global perspective that benefits society as a whole. The world demands immediate change, and that's why at Capital Plus SAFI, every day we invest to improve lives and protect the planet.
Exactly. That's what inspires us. That's our passion. That's why we exist. What's driving us as a firm these days is the fact that we wake up every morning and we reflect and ask the question, what is it that we're doing for our children? How can we improve people's lives? How can we protect the planet? And because of that, we decided to embrace this sector that, as we've seen, is in the middle of a crisis. But this crisis didn't fall from heaven. It's man-made, as we all know. So just as it's a crisis, right now we can turn it around and make it into a source of capturing emissions and into a source of competitive advantage and into something that is truly sustainable, a sector that's truly sustainable. So what makes the sector truly sustainable in our view is the fact that you have to incorporate a strategy, a system of a strategy. Here we have our system of a strategy, and we have many, many sources, as you can see. But we're going to focus primarily in this solution session on share value, as you heard me. Then we're going to talk a little bit about our board as a source of competitive advantage. And then we're going to close the session with E-liability, which is the environmental liability footprint that we all generate in our economic activities. This is one of the most pressing issues, the E of the ESG. And this is a novel tool that it's helping us to combat the environmental pressing issue that we're going through. Okay, before I go on, I want to just give you a little context. We're in the segment of the agribusiness, the agricultural sector, and within that segment, we're creating value across all of the value chain. We can impact all of the value chain through share value investments. The target companies, again, it's all companies within the agribusiness sector, and our ticket size ranges from $5 to $8 million. And the product is primarily, for the most part, debt, because we're launching a fund out of Delaware, and the region, for the most part, demands debt. So our work, it's done through debt investments. So we go into a company, and we got to bring value into the table. We got to bring value into the table. And what does value mean? Value means share value to us. And what's the sweet spot? Where do you find that sweet spot within the share value world? It is the nexus between a company's assets and expertise, the social need that you want to tackle, and the business case. When you have that intersection is when share value becomes a true reality and it starts delivering value to the investors, to the community, and to the portfolio companies where you're investing. Within that framework, then we, as I said earlier, we also start bringing in other sources of competitive advantage, such as our board of directors. Our board of directors, as I said, is another source of competitive advantage that delivers value. Why does it deliver value? What's so important about a board of directors? Well, board of directors are critical to countries' soft infrastructure. Just as we worry about physical infrastructure, we have to give as much attention to the soft infrastructure. So boards do play a very critical piece in an economy, and they can deliver value so that the economy and the company that's delivering the value can prosper simultaneously. And how does that happen? It happens when you position your board as a strategic source of value, of competitive advantage. For instance, at Capital SAFI, the first item discussed in the board is strategy. And within that first item, we start reaffirming, questioning, and analyzing the competition and making sure that we are delivering share value. How does it make us more competitive? Because it starts moving the needle that needs to be moved, the dials. There are two dials. One is the willingness to pay, and the other one is the willingness to supply. And the idea is that you generate value through those two approaches, and that you widen the wedge. When you widen the wedge, that means that you are delivering value, and your company is either generating more revenues or it's enhancing its supply capacity. And that's building community, and that's building a business. And if we think about why impacts an economy, it impacts because when you have a good number of independent boards set up in a way that they will deliver competitive advantage, the country works at a much faster speed, delivering value, because it's not spending as much on transactions costs. So that enhances both the economy and the business. Okay, so that's, and you can please interrupt me and ask me questions anytime if you have any comments, suggestions, or opinions. Okay, so that's one source of competitive advantage that I wanted to discuss with you, that it's very critical in our company's strategy, that it's also aligned with our share value approach. And now I'm going to go into the E-liability. The E-liability, which is tackling the E of the ESG that we're all working at, is an environmental methodology that enables you to tackle the biggest and the most pressing issue that we have today in our planet, which is the environmental crisis. So what's the beauty about the E-liability? The E-liability has a unique advantage over the greenhouse protocol that most of us have been using over the past. What the E-liability has is the fact that it's solving the scope 3. The scope 3 is the upstream, and the downstream is the indirect emissions that we don't have control of. With this methodology, now we can hold into account both the supply chain, all of the value chain of our industry, from suppliers to manufacturers to distributors, and they all can start applying this standard tool in a way that they can pass their E-liability across the chain to the ultimate user of the product or service. And in that approach, the beauty is that the number that this methodology throws, it's based on a scientific approach. It's an accounting approach that at the end of the day, each of our CEOs has to produce an environmental statement. This environmental statement has to be audited. It's verifiable, and there is where the strength of the E-liability methodology comes in again. So this is what's going to be displacing the green gas protocol, because it can hold us all into account. We can now be responsible of our footprint, our environmental footprint, in a way that we haven't seen before, because as I said earlier, this auditable and verifiable tool can throw a number. It will throw a number that it will be very precise, so precise that we can hold everyone into account. And that's where the beauty begins. The beauty begins because each of us can turn and start working on trying to bring that footprint down. And at that point, all of us are combating the environmental liability that we are generating in our activities. Okay, so this has become another source of competitive advantage in our portfolio of companies. Today we have 3 projects that we're running. One is run by Cecilia, another one is being run and spearheaded by James. One is the Criollo cattle, and the other one, it's in the soybean industry. And of course, we're trying to come up with our own environmental footprint. This is of Capital SAFI. So we expect this methodology to be the gold standard. Actually, we have 3 huge world-class institutions that are pushing for this methodology and lobbying for this methodology to be applied very soon. This is the IMF, the the Bank of International Settlements, and the Bundesbank, as well as the Bank of Chile. These institutions are working, they're hard at work with the E-Liability Institute, which is the institute that is promoting, that it's rolling out this initiative, this novel breakthrough, so that we can all adopt this in the next 2 years, because this will become the gold standard. And we're very happy to share with you that we're the first financial institution in the world pioneering this tool. So that speaks of how we are impacting the world. And now the question is, why is it that you're impacting the world? See, before we adopted the share value strategy, we were just a transactional company. We were a transactional company. We were in a commoditized industry for the most part, and now we shifted into a solutions company. We bring solutions for the long term. We want solutions along the side of social impact. And the biggest piece of added value that we bring to the table, and we make sure that no money is left on the table by incorporating strategy into our value proposition. Every single day at 10 in the morning, here our team meets with the rest of our team members to discuss strategy, because strategy is exactly what can make the difference. This is the biggest point that I want you to walk away with, because I hear a lot about impact, about social returns. But then again, what is self-sustaining? What makes an investment approach or a business to truly become impactful and self-sustaining now at a time when we most need it, is the fact that you incorporate, embed a social aspect into your strategy. And the social aspect that we incorporated in our strategy, as I mentioned earlier, is this sector that we saw that it's in the middle of a crisis. It's suffering from deforestation, from unsustainable use of land. And with this approach, we think that we can turn things around for the better in a sustainable way. I don't know if you have any questions, comments. Anybody wants to perhaps go ahead?
Nick Leon, Naked Eye filmmaker. I'd just be curious to hear some of your examples of shared value. Say in the soybean sector, for example. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, the very best examples, and that's a super good question, is, well, of course, this is a journey, first of all. It doesn't happen overnight. We're seeing things change for the better in the soya sector, to answer your question, because when we go with this share value approach, we have 3 levers that we put at work. And this is where our firepower sits. And that is the product itself, the value chain from our company, and also the cluster that we build. In the cluster, what we try to do is form partnerships, alliances with universities, with NGOs, with governments. Currently, we have a very strong relationship with the UK government, alongside with other embassies as well. And together, when we put $1 into the soybean industry, now we use all this firepower that we didn't have before because we were more of a transactional company. Now we moved into a solution company, and this is the beauty of the share value approach, because you have all these three levers, Tim, that I was telling you about, that come into work and contribute in a way to the soybean companies so that they can become sustainable. This morning I was talking to Lucas, and we were thinking of also enhancing this cluster piece of our strategy. And how can we enhance it? Well, we said, well, we can come up with a technical assistance. And when we go out and raise funds, we're not just going to talk about our strategy, but we're going to also let them know that once our strategies roll out, we're going to kick in technical assistance, that we already are prepared to also bring additional technical assistance, because Cecilia, for instance, it's spearheading the toolkit from WWF, which is the DCF, deforestation and conversion-free approach. And that's already delivering for our firm and for the community a cleaner supply. It's a cleaner company. It's not. It's also on the road to sustainability. Okay. Anybody else?
Morning. Perhaps I could just comment on the role of cattle. It's kind of questioning conventional wisdom on cattle, and probably many people here will throw their hands up in the air when you talk about cattle in the Amazon, because you have this image of large-scale deforestation.
James, can you please go up to the mic?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I'll pick it up. I'll do a Mick Jagger.
Okay.
Yeah, Jorge and I both like the Rolling Stones. So. The issue about cattle production and the role of cattle and livestock generally in the forest. I mean, when I'm not here and I'm not an independent board member of Capital SAFI, I have a small cattle farm. And we use cattle to restore forest. We also use pigs to restore, we use livestock to restore forest. So the issue is, how can we act with social inclusion to resolve these major environmental problems across the Amazon region? So as you saw in the video, we're seeing the Amazon burn. We've had 10 million hectares burnt in Bolivia this year, and probably 5 times that area in western Amazon region of Brazil. So how do you begin to resolve that scale of problem? And that's what we're looking at. So how do we involve the communities? How do we scale up? And one of the issues that I think was being discussed here is scaling up, as we saw on the first day on Members' Day. How do you scale up? So we're using cattle as a means to scale up, involve local indigenous communities, campesino communities, and our proposal is to work with them and to involve them in the development of the value chain and restore forests. So we've actually recently done a study. We're showing that we can keep cattle in the forest, increase forest growth, and capture carbon and have carbon negative beef production, which seems totally contradictory to what conventional knowledge suggests, and involve local communities in achieving that. And it's a scalable way of resolving these environmental problems with social inclusion. So we just wanted to show that's possible. We can produce top quality beef from the ancient breed of Criollo cattle that was introduced to South America more than 500 years ago. So this is part of the solution. It's part of the scalable solution that we're trying to implement across the western Amazon region, including many parts of Bolivia.
Yeah, and thank you, James, and I'd like to compliment James on the scale piece. But before I do that, this is a project that is not impacting Bolivia or Latin America. It's going to impact the world. It's impacting the world because once we confirm the fact that these Criollo cattle have this negative carbon features, we will see the cattlemen shift their strategies into this breed. And this breed is, as you heard, does wonders because they browse in the forest, they don't graze. And because they don't graze, the farmers don't have to deforest. So it's a wonderful project. It's something that we are really working hard at. But we also heard a lot about scaling. And as we all know, as businessmen, scaling is not easy. So the question is, how can you truly scale? Again, the door for scaling is strategy. But strategy alone these days is not enough. What makes a strategy different, and what makes a strategy different within Capital SAFI, is the fact that you bring in this social dimension that we've heard about. You know, that was and continues to be one of the pressing issues in our community. And that's why we embrace that particular strategy that tackles and addresses the agricultural sector. And within that strategy, we've been delivering value. You know, the needles of willingness to pay and the needle of willingness to supply has widened. And because of that, now we have a doorway to scale. And we're scaling out of Delaware. And from Delaware, we're going to be investing across 6 Latin American countries to deliver the same value that we're delivering currently in Bolivia. And that's because we bring a strategy, a value add to the table, something unique. And when you do that, you are into positive sum competition and not into the zero sum destroying value proposition that companies have. So that's one of the key ingredients to scale. And I wanted to also share with that with you. Well, we ran out of time, and I just want to thank you all for joining us. I hope you're walking away with more insights on share value, more insights on the e-liability, and as well as the value of having soft infrastructure at work and delivering competitive advantage within your businesses and for your communities where you operate. So thank you. And if there's any burning questions that you might have, I'll be happy to take them. There's a team of 7 of us here that can also address to your questions. So thank you. A hand of applause.